Hello comrades! This will be the second episode in which I would like to focus on an interesting debate I have listened on YouTube. This time I would like to share my comments about Comrade Luna's conversation from Vietnam with Comrade Hakim from Iraq. For all of us, Luna, Hakim and me, English is not our first language and we make our YouTube channels to reach the international left dominated by imperialist countries, mostly the US. Luna's story explaining the reason why she decided to make videos about communism in Vietnam was very interesting. Originally, Luna wanted to dedicate her channel to talk about Vietnam culture and cuisine, but as soon as she released her first videos, many negative comments appeared, mostly from users from Western countries who attacked Vietnam using primitive anti-communist propaganda. This anti-communist propaganda was also repeated by pseudo-leftist circles such as a human rights organization or various anarchist, social democratic and Trotsky circles in the USA. Luna could not tolerate all these lies and therefore decided to change her strategy and started to make talk about the Vietnamese revolution on her channel. Personally, I think it's good, because I think especially these videos make Luna's channel interesting. In the context of the ongoing epidemic and the defeat of the capitalist countries, the successes of Vietnamese socialism is even more apparent. What is very important in my opinion is Luna's general message emphasizing that anti-communist propaganda against Vietnam in imperialist countries is so strong that even anti-capitalist circles repeat it. Of course, the American left uses slightly different arguments. The famous cliché is repeated over and over again that this is not true socialism, that Vietnam is a Polish state, that Vietnam has not completely abolished capitalist relations, and that the Vietnamese Communist Party is simply a new red bourgeoisie. And at this point Hakim's words are important. He stated that, of course, the real socialist states were not perfect and could be criticized, but this criticism should be constructive to think together about what can we improve, what can be done better. Meanwhile, the internet is dominated by the fanatical hostility towards all revolutionary experiences we have had, including accusations that existing socialist states are some form of red fascism. Hakim is right to point out that this hatred of successful revolutions comes from the frustrations of the Western left, which in their countries has never been able to carry out victorious revolutions. From my point of view, I may add that this hatred of the old colonial peoples resembles an old racist fairy tale about the civilizational superiority of Europeans over the rest of the world. The conversation between Hakim and Luna is a conversation between two communists from countries that were victims of American imperialism. Hakim, like me, believes that promoting the successes of Vietnam is very important because it is one of the few existing socialist countries today. He thinks that Luna is lucky and can be proud of her homeland. Let me here share my own story. I became interested in Marxism in the 1990s when I was recruited to the newly formed Trotsky's organization. I was very young then, and this organization was founded by people who came from England. The ideological pillar of this sect was the eternal criticism of the Polish People's Republic, i.e. the previously existing socialist state. Back then I believed everything they were saying and repeated it naively after them. It was only a few years later that I realized that People's Poland had many achievements that we Polish communists can be proud of. We can be proud that for 45 years there was no unemployment in Poland, no homelessness, that everyone had access to free health care, free education, also at the university level, that the country has been developing every year, that illiteracy was eliminated, a dense network of schools was created and libraries were free and easily accessible, nurseries and kindergartens, and working families were entitled to holidays. I could go on and on about this. All these achievements of PRL have been systematically taken away by the counter-revolution. Today, the communists in Poland do not have to invent a new original program. Our most important program should be to restore all the good things that already existed in Poland. Things that still exist in Vietnam today. As a teenager politically raised by Trotskyists in European country, I was hostile to the various socialist revolutions in the Third World, and I am glad that I have grown out of it and had a change of heart. Therefore, let me appeal to Hakim and Luna, continue your educational work, because these young people from the internet who are spitting on socialist countries today may change their views in a few years. The criticism of Woś is the second thing I'd like to talk about today. Of course, I completely agree that Woś is a liberal pest and must be fought against politically. But I didn't like the arguments Hakim used. The enemy should not be taken lightly. Whether we like it or not, Woś has a much more popular channel than us, and you should stop here to understand why it is so. Hakim suggested that Woś is an idiot who doesn't even know where is Vietnam. And Woś's main problem is that he keeps making new videos with little content. Personally, I think the Woś strategy is good. People look for entertainment on the internet, and it is precisely this kind of light leftist propaganda that reaches young people more effectively than difficult Marxist lectures. Luna said she was translating a Vietnamese Communist Party textbook which was very difficult to read. I came across Marxism as a teenager in the 1990s, and it was only a few years later that I began to study Marxism on my own. Marxism theory is difficult, and if we care about mass propaganda, we must understand that different content should be addressed to pre-scholars and the other to students. Hakim arguments that Woś knows little about the theories are correct, but politically damaging, because this is how Hakim presents himself, as a Marxist sage, a know-it-all, the smartest in the world, someone who despises poorly educated people. This is perhaps a good strategy for building a conservative or liberal movement, but it is ineffective if we want to build a communist movement. Our content is addressed to the working class, and we must not appear presumptuous in the eyes of this class. Woś is a problem because he is an anti-communist, but if we want to defeat him, we should use his methods, that is, make light mass propaganda in which we will simply present the successes of socialism and promote radical anti-imperialism. This is exactly my strategy on my Polish field, and the most popular left-wing channel in Polish is a radically communist portal. And although the channel offers educational content such as lectures or audiobooks, light content such as debates or various entertainment videos dominate.